Can you believe it? I'm actually back for another video. And it hasn't even been like a month or something like that, which is what I typically do. I have not done great so far as my habits and everything that I talked about. Remember, if you watched last week, or if you watched the last video that I put out, you saw me talking about this excellent habit tracker that I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stop talking about it and I'm gonna be about it, and all these big grand plans that I have. And I have not done anything. Well, let me not say that I haven't done anything, because that's not exactly true, but I have not been keeping up with my habits or tracking like what, like what the plan was. And so I am still, just like always, still just trying to do a little better. The plan is for going into next week, we're going to try this again. We're gonna start over with the habit tracking and kind of see where we can, get it to go from there. So y'all just continue to keep me lifted. But in the meantime, like I said, it's not that I haven't been doing anything. I've lifted weights twice this week, did that workout twice this week, and incorporated some new things into it, an ab routine, some leg stuff, just kind of keeping everything going, because I've talked about my back injury before, and with that, I do have a desire to lose weight, but more than anything for me, the exercise and, keeping myself active and all of that is everything to do with like my actual health. Like if I don't work out, I will hurt worse. And so I've been doing really good about getting that going. I did do a walk this week as well. Something that I like to do is go out in my neighborhood, and I'll have my headphones with me, I have my phone with me, and I'll actually dictate while I'm walking. And so I'm working and walking at the same time. And so sometimes that might keep me out a little longer. Like if I'm really into the if I'm really into the scene or something like that, I'm like, no, you need to do another quarter mile so that you can finish getting this scene out. And so I've been working with that, just keeping active, keeping that going. I have been mindful of what I'm eating, not as mindful as I probably should be, but I have been mindful of what I'm eating. I've been drinking my water. And so in terms of that stuff, it's like I said, it's not that I haven't been doing it, I just haven't been tracking it like I should. And I do think that visual, like the visual part of it, seeing it in front of you, I really do think that it makes a difference. And the other thing that I've been doing is that I have been writing. I have been writing. At the time that I did that video last week, where I first introduced to you guys the idea that I would be moving forward with the Sugar Valley series, I did not have much written. I didn't have much written at all. And now I'm about what I believe is halfway through it. Of course, I'm going to write until they don't give me anything else, but I think I'm about halfway through the project. And so I'm excited about that. They've been giving me a lot. They've been giving me the blues some and all of that, but I'm excited to be moving forward with them. But anyway, I have talked enough about other things. We can get on to my main topic for this video. So as you guys know, like we've talked about this, how I say that I'm going to do YouTube and then I don't end up doing it. I do have some things that I want to do, like some topics and things like that I want to do, but I asked on my Instagram a few days ago. Yeah, a couple of days ago, I asked on my Instagram what were some topics that you guys would like to see, and I got some interesting responses. One of the first responses that I got, let me see, I have them pulled up. Questions you're tired of us asking. And my initial reaction to this is that I don't have any questions that I'm necessarily tired of you guys asking, because I feel like that kind of makes it sound like, I don't know, that kind of makes it sound bad when most of them are really, like, when I don't really get questions like that typically, you know what I mean? Like when I put up the little question box on Instagram, I don't typically get, you know, negative or ugly stuff like that. But if I just had to pick something, I would say I really like the questions about who is your favorite author, or what's my favorite book, different things like that. It's not inherently bad question. It's just my answer is always the same. Like there's no possible way that I can choose, because I've become such a finicky reader that I don't know. It's just, it's a really hard question to answer. It's a very loaded question also. And so I don't really like to be asked it. I don't really like having to answer it, especially if I'm put on the spot or something like that. My default is typically Eric Jerome Dickey or something by him, just because as I was kind of really getting to know Black contemporary literature, he was kind of, you know, the center of it for me. Like he was definitely a favorite for me, and so I kind of default there. But in 2019, I don't know that I could really answer that question anymore. And it's, I mean, I want to be really clear that there's nothing against him. It's just that I'm not that person anymore. I'm a very different person now. And so, you know, your taste change, your ideas about what makes something good change, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, you know, I really don't know how to answer that question. And so that would be the one, you know, I guess if I had to say I'm tired of this question, it would have to be that. But it's like, again, it's not an inherently like a negative or bad question. It's just really hard to answer. Maybe because I talk so much. That might be part of it. Another question that I got was, what inspires you to write or start new books? That really comes from everywhere, like literally everywhere. I feel like I've told this story before, maybe on the Girl Have You Read podcast or something like that. But I was driving. I live in a college town. There's like 3 or 4 colleges in this one city. And so often, like, to get somewhere, like the quickest route is possibly through campus. And so I was driving through campus one day, and this kid, he just kind of darts out in front of my car, like to get across the street. And luckily I was actually driving the speed limit, like the low speed limit for when you're going through there. And so I was able to quickly stop and not, you know, and not end up hitting him. But just that little passing encounter, you know, all he did was look up and wave and laugh. Like, of course it's funny to you because you're like 19. So of course this is funny, but it really, like, it started this whole string of ideas for me. And I spent like the rest of my drive running through ideas in my head for what that could have been. Like if this was fiction, if this was Mahogany Heights, or if this happened on the Blakewood campus, what could that have been? You know, could that have been a meet cute? You know, if he had gotten hit and the heroine jumped out of her car, I actually had an idea that I actually ended up with an idea that I was gonna go with for Dawn, actually, for Cora's daughter from the Inevitable series. But I ended up, you know, by the time I actually came to write her story, we ended up with something else. And so, you know, that went nowhere. But I don't know, maybe eventually I'll come back to it. But really, the answer to the question is that inspiration comes from everywhere, in any little thing. I could be having a conversation with a friend and like, you know what, that would be really cool in a book. Or I can be on social media scrolling and see a certain image that sparks something, or watching TV. And I do this a lot when I'm watching TV, but I like to, like, I'll play games on my phone while I'm watching TV. And so I'm only halfway paying attention. So I like to binge watch stuff that I've already watched like 5 different times. But I'll be, you know, I'll be flipping houses on my phone, and look up, you know, and something is happening on the TV, and it's like, huh, now if instead of this, it was this way, and then instead of that, it was that way instead, I bet that would be really cool in a book. Just different things like that. And it happens all the time, and it really produces more than what I could ever possibly come around to write. But I mean, I'm gonna try. Another one was the writing process, start to publication. That one, that I don't want to make this video too long, and so I'll probably come back to that, and we might do that in a video of itself. I'm I'm skipping that one. There's another one about the writing process. What else? What are your I'll never do that again lessons, such as giving a release date before you're ready, taking the wrong advice? This was actually kind of two mixed together. Talking about a book before it was performed, and then deciding not to write it, taking the wrong feedback, etc. I've done all of those. I have made all of those mistakes, and it really is just that. I feel like being an indie publisher and indie author, you really have to be able to kind of roll with the punches, and it doesn't feel good, especially that thing of giving release dates. That's actually why I tend to not give release dates at all unless I am absolutely sure. Like, unless I am I cannot overstate how sure I have to be before I give out a release date about something, because for me, it's just not worth, you know, we've reached this date and now it's not coming, now it's not happening. Because what I've found is that a lot of people, a lot of readers, even when they're fans, they don't tend to realize that we're still human. Like, we're not a company. We're not a corporation. We're human. And I might say that, you know, a book is going to come out on, I don't know, January 31st, and then my kid breaks her arm, or I break my arm, or, you know, any little thing like that, or one of my parents could get sick, or, you know, I might have a bout with depression, whatever. Anything literally could happen between now and then. And some people tend to kind of, I don't know, I feel like there's not a lot of respect given to that with some people. And instead of battling against that, I tend to just not, like I said, I don't give release dates unless I am like, unless I am certain as Jesus coming back, I'm not giving a release date, just, you know, just because of stuff like that. Taking the wrong feedback. Opinions are like assholes. I think I've heard somebody say opinions are like belly buttons. Maybe that's the more, I guess, appropriate way to say that. But everybody is going to have an opinion. And I think that I spent kind of the early parts of my career letting that affect me a whole lot more than it should. And that's not to say that supposed feedback, everything is not feedback. Everything is not feedback. Everything is not critique, and everything is absolutely not constructive criticism. I see that lobbed around a lot. Everybody is not qualified to criticize people's work, just depending on the, you know, depending on what that work is, or what, you know, what lane or genre or whatever it is. Everybody is not qualified to criticize. And I have thoughts on that, so I might come back to that. But ultimately, like, my real advice with that is, you have to be to survive this thing called indie publishing. You have to be very certain of your talent. You have to be very certain of the fact that you want to do this. And I'm actually going to take back that about you having to be very certain of your talent, because confidence is absolutely a good thing. But even me, like, I doubt. Sometimes I doubt a lot. You know, I worry a lot about people understanding the work or liking the work or whatever. It happens. But when it really comes down to it, if you love it and you know that you've given it your all, you know that you've given it what it deserved, and you know that it looks the way that you wanted it to be, you know that it became something that you wanted to be, once it all comes down to it, you have to be okay with just that. you know, you have to be okay with the fact that not everybody's going to like it. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So there's that. And like I said, I'll come back to that constructive criticism thing in another video, but this one is long enough, and so I'm gonna go ahead and let this one go. I will be back, and I'll probably do this again, because I really like this, and just answering the different questions or whatever in a way that I'm able to expound a little more, because y'all know I love to talk. So we might do this again, but as always, thank you guys for watching, and holla.